Hi guys, it's Ankita. Welcome to my spoiler-free review of War and Peace by Leo Tolstoy. I started reading this book last December and I haven't yet finished it. I still have a few chapters remaining. I will finish this on Wednesday and I know I won't have time to talk about this book on Wednesday, so I thought I would review it now. And anyway, I know the last couple of chapters are just Tolstoy reflecting on the historical events. Another reason I wanted to make this video today is because I know as soon as I finish this book, I'm gonna go on the internet and read more about this, and I know it is definitely going to temper my views on this book, and I didn't want that to happen, and I want to record and share with you my raw thoughts on this book. All right, so look at the state of this book. I started reading this last December and I bought a new copy, and it is well loved. I have spent so many evenings just reading this, reflecting on the characters, on the events. Tolstoy wrote this book in the 1860s about the events that took place in the early 19th century, so the early 1800s. So it's technically a historical fiction. It's very much a historical fiction. It's about the Russian Napoleonic Wars and the events related to that took place in Russia. What's very interesting is that these historical figures like Napoleon, Alexander, other generals, they appear in his book as characters. To me, it's so interesting how he has executed that. Now I know it is not very uncommon for that to happen, but the way Tolstoy has done it, it's just something that I have never come across. One of the thoughts when I was reading this book is that if there were documentaries back in the day, it would be Tolstoy. It's like when I was reading this, I felt like, oh, it's Tolstoy in his study telling us about events that took place in Russia. One thing that stood out to me was how passionately Tolstoy has written about the history of what actually happened. Probably because he was not happy with the way the historians documented all of the events of this war, right, of the Russian Napoleonic Wars. So he wanted to present us what actually happened. His passion for doing that is so palpable. It has a life of its own and it is so marvelous. I have never felt an author's passion for telling the truth, almost like, here are the facts. This is what actually happened and not what the European historians have documented about the Russian Napoleonic Wars. I think I could write an essay about how much Tolstoy disagrees with the historians. It's almost like this book is his argument against the historians. Okay, let's talk about the characters in this book. They are so believable. There was not even a single character in this book that I was like wholeheartedly in love with, and yeah, probably there was a character that I was rooting for. I really wanted him to shine, to be his best, to find his own. His purpose in life, none of them are perfect and they're all flawed. The list of characters is absolutely long. And when I started reading this, I really didn't know which characters to really focus on, which characters are going to be like the center. I just went with what was at the back of the book, and I just went with like 3-4 characters, and then while I was reading it, I then started analyzing some other characters as well. But yes, the list of characters is really long, but it's not very difficult to keep track of them. Don't let that keep you from reading the book. I was able to remember the characters right up to the end of the book. There are some characters that don't have a lot of significance, so you can just forget about them. But really, the way Tolstoy paints these characters is very I don't think it's unique, but he does it really well. It reminded me of how George Eliot has drawn her characters in Middlemarch, and that one of the reasons for that could be because I read Middlemarch not too long ago, so maybe that's why the comparison popped in my head. But he does it so well. Oh my goodness, let's talk about the Homeric similes. Now, one of the things I noticed about Tolstoy was how he uses this similes like Dante has done in his The Divine Comedy. Well, I haven't read all of it, but I've read Inferno. And my friend told me that they are called Homeric similes. Another thing is I was also reluctant about starting this book. One of the reasons was I was thinking it's gonna be like Middlemarch. I was so wrong. This translation is great. I read the Maud translation. This is the Oxford Classics. The Penguin one is also good. I think one of the main differences between the Penguin one and this one is that this actually has French in it, and then the translation is appears as footnotes. However, in the Penguin edition, I think everything's like translated into English, and you just like have in parentheses, so and so said this in French, but it's in English over there. It didn't bother me. I was trying to learn French a few years ago, and to me it was kind of interesting to have the French as well. So I would recommend this translation. In some places it was really funny, so I think it could be that the translation felt a little bit too modern, considering this is from the 19th century, but really it was very easy to follow. The chapters are so small. They are really small, hardly 2 pages each chapter, sometimes 1 page. Really easy. So if you like make tiny goals of like reading 2 chapters every night, you'll still make a lot of progress in this book. The epilogue is 100 pages long, around 100 pages long, which to me is ridiculously long, and I think part of it didn't really have to be an epilogue. But wow. Anyway, I hope you found this video helpful. If you have been pulling back from reading this book because you think it's gonna be really difficult, let me tell you, it's easy, it's approachable. Just keep track of the characters, you should be fine. There are some parts that are heavy on history, but once you start reading, you do figure out there's some structure to this book. Like Tolstoy will tell us about a historical event, what had happened, and then he will talk about our characters, our characters as in his characters in those events, and it all starts making sense. I thought I was not going to enjoy all these battle strategies, but I really did enjoy. There are some maps in this which I found really helpful. So that's all I have to say about War and Peace for now. I do want to make other videos after I finish reading the epilogue, and I want to do like character analysis. I really just want to talk about the characters, and those videos will contain spoiler, but I did want to make a spoiler-free video. Also just document my raw thoughts. I hope you pick this book up if you have not already read War and Peace. I do think it is a masterpiece for sure. And thank you so much for watching this video. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel and like this video, and I'll see you next time. Until then, take care. Bye.